It's not a monopoly at all. Well,
would you say that there's maybe a handful of really big companies, the others are kind of really small?
Yeah, like the big brand, Mattamy Homes, like the ones you know, Daniels Corporation. There are smaller ones, but there's nothing stopping you or me buying a plot of land, paying the development fees and building. Like there's local guys I see on Instagram.
Well, I've always had a question about that, right? So my understanding is, generally speaking,
that's where the money is in building.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And I'm looking into actually getting into something like that once, you know, I'm able to have some capital here to move around. But when it comes to breaking ground in a condo specifically, right? My understanding is that these builders won't even look at it if it hasn't sold at least 75%.
You mean the banks?
Like the builders won't even break ground to start building the condominium
unless they got 75% funding?
75% of the units that they are projecting to build have sold through the presentation center. Is that correct?
That I wouldn't know. I'm sure it's something like that.
Because then that as a safety net for a builder, well, think about it. If you're getting, you know, say $3,000 worth of deposits, you know, before you even break ground from each person, whatever that accumulates to, call it, you know, what, 200,000, 300,000, that money can then get used to actually break the ground.
I think what it is has more to do with not that the builders aren't willing to break ground, but the banks will not give them financing until they have a certain amount of units sold. And once they have that threshold sold and they go to the bank and say, 75% of my units are sold, I haven't even built shit yet. Okay, we're going to give you your first construction draw to start building. Because a lot of builders are, you know, they have a new corporation for each one and they're ballsy. They'll start breaking ground whenever, but they rely on financing from the banks.
But that's what I'm saying, right? A lot of these builders don't want to, you know, don't have the money out of pocket, not all the time, right?
Well, they do, but they want to leverage as much as they can.
Exactly, right? And so, you know, and then now the next question would be, as a subdivision, when you're a builder and you're looking to build out subdivisions and not condos, that's another very, very lucrative, you know, I guess, what would we call that?
Industry?
Industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Know, like you're building out a subdivision, setting up the presentation center. Like how does that
work? But pre-con itself gets risky because, back to what we were saying, you're pricing it typically for condos in particular higher than the market rate. With detached, it's different because you're not waiting 2-3 years. Generally with detached, you're waiting 3 to 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
So there's closer price differences on pre-construction detached versus resale detached. But you know, I've seen stories where you know, people sell pre-construction, prices are too high, people can't close on it. Like you've seen those YouTube or Instagram videos where some Indian guy goes in and throws a Molotov cocktail and burns up like a pre-construction house.
I don't think I've seen those.
Yeah, trust me. And the reason they're doing that, you know why? Because they know
insurance.
Because they know that when it comes time to closing, they can't close, and the builder's going to sue them. And if the builder sues you for $200,000, if you don't have the money, you're fine. You get a judgment on your credit report, but you're not going to pay because you don't have any money.
Right.
But if a lot of these pre-construction buyers are investors in Brampton, Mississauga, they came here 10 years ago. They have 1, 2, 3 homes, a couple $1 million in portfolio. They don't want to get sued, so they hire some guy, pay him $10,000, burn the shit, and then you know insurance takes care of it, and they don't have to do anything. So,
well, they still have to close. No, they still got to pick up the property.
Well, I don't know the specifics, but if it, who knows, bro? All I know is that pre-construction is very risky.
Would you say that's just in Canada or everywhere?
Like, I don't know every market, but like I said, in Dominican Republic, a lot of issues in Dominican Republic. It's not that the price is too high, but a lot of builders don't complete it and they walk away with the money. So it has to be a reputable builder, depending on the area.
I can see that.
I've seen a couple stories in Punta Cana, but there are like where I live, new buildings every day. Like you wouldn't believe it.
Really?
Like 30, 40 story towers. There's one street called Avenida Anacaona where you're just driving down, all you see is big buildings, and it's right like in the view of the sea. It's really nice.
Nice.
But yeah, like pre-construction, I would consider it. Like if you're selling me pre-construction and it's a good deal, but
I mean, you know, the selling point there is that like you mentioned, right? Not a lot of people have the money to put down on a house right off the hop, at least, you know, a 20% deposit. So the flexibility of being able to leverage your money over a longer period of time allows you to be able to actually feel like you're working towards something and buying something of your own, when in reality, what they do is they really kind of take advantage of the fact that, you know, you're doing that as a business.
Dream.
They're selling you a dream. Exactly. They're selling you a
$500,000 condo for $650 and hoping in 5 years the market goes up.
Yeah.
You're like, in what world would you do that? And 100%. I think the majority of people who did buy pre-construction, I don't think they even realized that it was significantly more in price. They just saw, this is the price.
And this is your
They don't have to get a mortgage now. They don't need an appraisal. The realtor's selling it. The lawyer's selling it. Everyone's making money. Okay, let me sign here. Everyone else is doing it and they're making money, but they don't realize that can only go on forever. Okay. So I think we talked.
100%. No, I appreciate you answering that. I had a couple questions about that.